Okay, I'd like to call the City of Ocean Shores Planning Commission meeting to order. It's Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, 2 p.m. We're in the Ocean Shores Library, 573 Point Brown Avenue in Ocean Shores, Washington. Commissioner Johnston.
Here.
Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Stalder.
Here.
Commissioner Lawless is here. May I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Kern?
So moved. Oh, second.
Answered me there. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All in favor? Okay. Approval of the meeting agenda. Motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
You get to the table.
Approval of the minutes of the regular City of Ocean Shores Planning Commission meeting on August 23rd, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes as written?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Well, okay, public communication is next on the agenda. So any comments by anyone in the room? Yes, sir.
I'm gonna leave it brief, so I wanted to touch on the trapping.
Okay.
Discussion just a little bit. I wanted to. This has already been towards council, away from council, that's way that way. And I just wanted to be clear that when we're doing these, if they're enforceable and defensible is the biggest thing. And I think that was a lot of the issues with the one before. But I think it came forward by all the public comment and council questions and everything that nobody really wants the wildlife part of this ordinance touched. They want to leave it in Fish and Wildlife and something like somebody with qualifications to handle situations.
Yeah.
As far as going the new paragraph for dogs and cats, I know there is a need for that, especially with the spaying and neutering issues we have with any feral cats and everything in the city. Just a couple suggestions going forward. If we're looking at an ordinance that involves a cat and dog trapping, we need to really go forward with specific kind of traps, maybe certain size traps, especially if you're doing cats, their pet cubs cannot get caught in, that the public safety officer or whoever's designated as that is aware. Permitting process with all these regulations and everything on top of them. Always having property owner's permission to put any traps. Liability insurance is another one that's probably handled for that. And quite a few other, we need to be really specific. It's kind of like finding property damage, but when you're talking about trapping these animals, dogs and cats, being specific of where it's allowed, how it's allowed, who's doing it, and a permitting process with regulations and requirements on it is a really good point to start there.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, to respond to that, I was joking with the chief of police that I needed the flak vest out of her truck before I sat down at council for the discussion. And she said she'd be willing to go get it. I said, no, that's okay. Yeah, there is like two people in this town for this, right? And I get that. Beat is not one of them. Yeah, anyway, but you got to understand how this process works. And I know you do, but for those in here that don't. So we're an advisory commission to the city council and to the mayor. And so when I'm asked to do something, I do it, right? So yeah, we got beat up and everybody says no. Well, okay. But give me some solutions. See, this is where I get irritated because I've asked for feedback, got it from some, got nothing from others. Promised feedback but from some, got none. That irritates me. Because I'm trying to follow a mandate of the planning commission that says you work for the city council and you work for the mayor. And when I'm asked to rewrite it, that's what I've done. Still without feedback that's been promised. I've mentioned it to Scott that no feedback has been received when requested and promised. And it's irritating. So you'll notice that in the rewrite, there's a couple of changes. One, there's no city involvement except the public safety officer. We're trying to get that changed to say the chief of police, because that's who it is. The ordinance hasn't come before council yet. We passed it here. So we took out step one where no one in the city is involved. If a homeowner wants to call Department of Fish and Wildlife, so be it. If they've got property or personal damage, they should be able to call somebody. Because see, right now, as we sit here, if something happens on your property damage or personal injury, what do you do as a citizen? What do you do? This is not a rhetorical question. What do you do? If you look at the code as it's written today, it says trapping, none whatsoever.
But there's an exemption.
Yeah, there is. So what do you do? Right?
There's an exemption and it differs back to.
Right. But doesn't none whatsoever kind of send up a red flag? Hence, we had two people in here that showed us pictures of damage to. Now, did it rise to the level of concern? Well, maybe not to you, but it did to them. And that's what sparked the interest. We looked at it and then we discovered none whatsoever. Well, that bothers me personally when it's none whatsoever. And I'm a citizen of this city. What happens if something happens at my place? None whatsoever. So that's what got it started. And so it was written, approved by the planning commission, went, and we've all heard and seen and felt the discussion that took place at city council. But then I was asked to rewrite it. And that's where we're at today, to have that discussion. Now, if you're going to ask me in a lie detector test, do I think there's ever in my day going to be 4 votes at council for this? No. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't think there's a snowball's chance on a real warm day. But I've been asked to do it. And when I'm asked to do it, my military background comes into play. And what do? I do it. Right? Thank you very much. You know, but with the feedback I got, I've rewritten it. Now, would it be different if I got feedback that was promised? Maybe, but I didn't. So that's where we're at today. So I appreciate your feedback. I know you have written feedback, which I incorporated into the rewrite, by the way. But that's where we're at. Any other comments? No other comments in house? Yes, ma'am.
Was it established that they would return once they were, like a bear taken out of the area, they would return to their birthing?
Oh, I have
area?
no idea. I have no idea. I mean, I read what's in the code, but I have no idea what happens on the flip side of the process. I mean, Department of Fish and Wildlife is here. He might tell you, Scott, you might tell us what happens on your end of the process, but I personally don't know.
So well, first off, to remove some of the confusion in all of this, that came out at the council meeting, that this does not refrain or pertain to large animals. There's only certain species that can be trapped under a nuisance. So I would be the only one or a enforcement officer that would set a trap for a bear. Some bears get relocated, others are eaten. We, we don't like relocating because yes, we are taking them out of their home and putting them in a foreign spot. It's not this happy thing. I've relocated one bear from Ocean Shores.
And then the others. Has there been any others that they've had trouble with?
Not recently. I mean, we've got garbage issues. We've had a little bit of property damage. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different discussion though, but just to alleviate that the ordinance he's working on does not include bears. Or deer or large animals. That's, I think, some of the confusion is.
Yeah.
No, that's not what the commission is addressing here.
Yeah, I specified in the rewrite, those fur-bearing animals listed in the WAC, Washington State WAC. And yeah, bears, deer, they're not included in any of that from the state. Yes, Andy.
Could you be more specific on the feedback that would be helpful to you? I could give you feedback that I'm for and against, but are you looking for something different than that?
Well, yes. So here's where I'm at. I've been asked to rewrite this, so my goal would be, how can we rewrite this to help you? I'll pick on you. Andy. So how can we help you if you have an issue at your house with either property damage or personal injury under this code?
Well, I wouldn't need your help. I would solve it myself.
Well, right, but how would you do that? See, that's the thing. How would you do that, given the code
Scare
says,
the deer away,
well, okay, yeah,
chase them away. It smells out there, you don't like.
but let's
I'm
fast
not gonna
forward.
come to the city and say I got deer crapping all over my property.
No, well, let's fast forward to, there's been some property damage at your home.
Well, I just live with it.
Okay,
Call the insurance company.
there you go.
Well, what would happen right now? We would call Fish and Wildlife and you would address that situation.
Depending on the species,
Yeah.
because deer, there again, they would call me, yeah, because that's outside of the scope of the planning commission's effort to address the trapping thing.
Right.
But so in a situation for me right now, and I realize maybe all of us are kind of misunderstanding a little bit of maybe the original intent of that code, but if somebody was to contact me, or contact the department, because technically, we try to direct people to our self-help or, the nuisance animal issues that you are addressing. And a lot of that can be taken care of by reading what's on our website. If they do ask to speak to someone, then it may come to me and then I would try and provide some advice over the phone. Don't really do site visits unless there's something that they say that causes me some concern. Then the process would be, and realize under state laws, things are pretty loose. And I don't think that's what Ocean Shores wants. That the person could, under state law, there's some mechanisms where they could either evict or trap an animal, but you have to be prepared. You cannot really, evicting an animal means you've caught it in your house or it's in your crawl space in your attic. You figured out how it's getting in there, you trap it, you set it outside and you plug the hole so it can't get back in. Hopefully you've confirmed that there's no young in there. The other one would be in a situation where it's not an eviction, it would be a trap and euthanize. And that would be, say they're using a live trap, so they would trap it. You have to euthanize it on site. You can't relocate that animal. That's illegal. The other option they have would be to, what our customer service a lot of times are going to say is for the nuisance wildlife, and that's the big difference here. We're talking nuisance wildlife, which does include some fur bearers and some unclassified species and a few others. So just saying fur bearers, that's kind of got to broaden that a little bit. In that case, they would advise you to contact what's a wildlife control operator. A wildlife control operator is a person who, via some training testing has become certified by the agency that for a fee, they will come out, provide some advice and or trap that animal for you. And they're expected to follow those laws, be aware of them. Because things, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, our Douglas squirrel are a protected species. So you really can't just trap those. They're not supposed to. So is that kind of answer the question?
Well, the deer were here, the animals were here before we
Yes,
came.
yes.
I think they get priority. And I enjoy that. Yeah, I want more wildlife to come. I used to see lots of birds. I don't see so many anymore. Used to see lots more animals. Right? Because people are moving in here by droves, pushing out the wildlife. So I would just prefer to leave them alone. And if they're bothering me, that's tough.
That is generally the idea, you know, the department's goals is to try to get people to live with wildlife
Right.
and try to use non-lethal measures first.
Yeah. Now, if a bear's in your house and you're killing people, I see the need for it.
Yeah, if they'll get in your house, killing
They're
people,
a serious problem.
that's there again, that's a different discussion, you know, which I would love to have the bear discussion sometime. We need to address some things, but it's not what we're talking about today here, you know.
So I'd like to read what I put in the rewrite. Trapping wildlife threatening human safety or causing property damage, procedure, limitations, and conditions. In accordance with the WAC 220-400-020, fur-bearing animals specifically defined as beaver, muskrat, fox, raccoon, marten, weasels, mink, badger, river otter, and bobcat. Dogs and cats are not included in this definition and are not considered fur-bearing wildlife. Subject to limitations and conditions established by the city, the owner's immediate family member, the owner's documented employee, or a tenant of real property may contact the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife to establish the threat of human safety or property damage caused. So we've taken out the city first step. Just if you've got an issue, call the Department of Fish and Wildlife. A licensed wildlife control operator will be required to get the necessary permits from Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife before trapping can begin, along with notifying the city safety officer, which we know to be the chief of police, before the placing of the traps within the city. Trapping will be consistent with RCW 77.15.194 or kill wildlife that is threatening human safety or causing property damages. Licenses required under RCW 77.65.460 or authorization from the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Director under RCW 77.12.240. All costs incurred for the trapping of fur-bearing wildlife shall be the responsibility of the property owner. Any person who traps fur-bearing animals with any trapping device of any nature whatsoever within the city limits shall be guilty of a Class B offense as defined by Title VII of this code. Now, what's interesting about the story that Scott just told, it's about a homeowner who's got an animal in his crawl space and he traps it and then replaces. But that's against the law under the code currently, which says none whatsoever. So I appreciate the example, but if a homeowner does that, they've now broken the code, which says none whatsoever, which is why we're trying to provide an opportunity for homeowners to remedy a situation, not just say, well, nothing I can do. Oh, I can trap them, just broke the law. Oh, I can shoot them, just broke the law. Because no firearms can be shot, right, in the city, right? So just broke the law. So what's a homeowner to do? And that's the frustrating part. I realize there is 0% here in this city that wants to fix this ordinance because, but as homeowners, what are we to do? and I mean, we collectively.
Well, I agree that the way you got it, it should pass. I wouldn't be against it.
I'm sure it won't, right? I'm 100% sure it
I'm
won't.
talking about when you rewrote.
Yeah, and I'm sure it won't because, no, I don't believe in my heart of heart that there's gonna be, I would love it, right? But I don't believe that there's gonna be 4 council people that would vote for this
But
as written.
Your only issue is you've got to present advice.
Yeah,
Up to them to decide.
exactly, right, that's true. And I would like to see it. I would like to see it, but I'm also very honest. Man, you know, I will tell you what my
You did your
feelings,
job, that's all that's true.
that's all I can do.
Nicole, did you want to say something?
No, she was giving me signals. She was telling me
He
that
made me.
she was telling me that I've said enough.
That it's too much back and forth.
Gotcha.
Like-
Yeah. Which I appreciate,
I
right?
know.
And I stepped out, so I apologize. Did you make your public comment yet?
She did.
I did, yeah.
All right,
I-
and and I apologize again, because I was not here. Did you
Yeah.
mention the beacon issue and how beacon is allowed to trap and why? And
No, I did not mention that.
That's commercial, right? And so they do have,
Exactly. So when we say no, so when you say when there's a rodent in your house, what you do is you call Beacon and Beacon will remove it and they have a license to do
No,
that.
it's not fur bearing.
Yeah, no, that part's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But we were saying in general, yes.
right, so they, commercial licenses, they do.
Right.
Like any pest control.
But when you're saying there's no trapping, that's kind of a misnomer, because obviously rats can be trapped by beacon. If you have a raccoon in your house, it can be removed, and there's a whole RCW requirement that allows for, because rats create disease for humans, that sort of supersedes our code. And so though we say no trapping is allowed, it's not entirely true. You absolutely can trap rats, but you can't do it yourself. You have to call a license.
Correct, yeah.
Does Vita have a comment?
Well, I'll get Vita for sure.
Point out, like Scott said, when you trap them, you have to kill them, you cannot relocate them. You know, so once again, in your code, how does a homeowner kill something it traps in their home?
So my big question is, since Beacon does have the ability to remove rodents from our homes, what is it we really want to change? Are we talking about things that are now outside the home? And are we just talking about, we're not talking about deer, we're not talking
That
about,
could be a better discussion for the actual discussion topic.
okay, let's wait till we get to the discussion. Yeah.
This is homeowner open comment, and we shouldn't be having the discussion
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
this.
Right.
period.
No, I agree. It should be about discussion.
So, and I'm guilty of that, because I allow it, yeah.
I'm gonna bring
I-
this up in the room.
I was told by Nicole that you allow it, but I can see that also she's like, she's about ready to throw the flag.
And
It'd be a
then
15-yard penalty and lock it down.
minutes.
I will just tell you, I am guilty, because I like the discussion and public communication, and I'm sure I should wait until it's the agenda item, and I get that, but, so I apologize in advance. Anything else in the room?
About that issue.
As a public comment.
Or public comment?
My thoughts are the animals would be happier if people didn't feed them, of course. And if there wasn't so much of their food taken away. I mean, maybe the city could consider every other lot or something like that.
I don't believe that will happen because I own the lot next to you hypothetically. And so what I want to do with my lot, if I want to build on my lot, then people can do that. And I don't think the city wants to get in and say, okay, every other lot can be built on, because, yeah, that won't work. If you're the odd
Yeah.
lot out, right? So, I mean, I get your point though, about the building is having an impact on the wildlife. I mean, we were coming down 109 a couple weeks ago and traffic was all stopped because they're logging up on the side and a bear had come across the road. You know, and we're going, okay, well, the bear is now upset because they're logging up there and their home, their den is ruined and they gotta go find a new place. Don't know, didn't stop to talk to them, but, you know, it came across the road, but you're right. with the building, the animals, they have to relocate, and unfortunately, that's difficult
Yeah,
for food sources, homes, and all that stuff that they built.
and we're known, Ocean Shores is known for the deer in the wild.
For sure, yeah. Anything else? Gita, thank you for your patience. Do you
Thank
have?
you for having me. I do have a couple of comments.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you for deleting the section on city involvement in your rewrite. I appreciate that. I think that was a big stumbling block. My second comment has to do with the Class B offense that you've assigned to this nuisance infraction. State law doesn't provide for nuisances to be criminalized. They're considered civil offenses. And my understanding of your Class B offense, it includes prison time and a large penalty. So as I said before in my previous comments, I think you need to reconsider that penalty that you want to assign to this code. And my third comment is actually a question. Is Thorne Ward still a commissioner? Because he wasn't excused at your beginning.
Actually, I did include, yes, he is still a commissioner. He had an appointment today where he could not attend. And yes, I did do Commissioner Kern and Ward,
Okay,
excused them at both.
I must not have heard.
It's
Okay,
okay. It's
Thank
a
you so
good
much.
question. Thank you.
you bet.
Okay. Old business, public restrooms update. Randy, do you have anything with Commissioner Kern not here today? Do you have anything?
Other than that one thing I sent you about that company that does like custom multiple restroom
Yes.
installations, and I haven't been able to follow up with that or.
So I've had discussions with the mayor and Scott about signage for our public restrooms. And we've been talking about maybe getting them around near the roundabout to point down towards the public restrooms that are located next to the Shiloh. The other thing that we've been discussing is if we had the capability, where would we put new restrooms? And so that is a discussion that we've had. And just hypothetically, two places have come to mind. One, the city-owned lot behind Bennett's there where the public parking area is. And or down at or near the convention center as two possible locations. Have we gone any further than that? No. But I think we all agree that having additional public restrooms would be helpful here with the number of tourists that we get into our town. So those are our discussions to this point. Any other comment?
I will say that Kurt Dooley gave the idea to the city that we should look into LTAC to refurbish the restrooms that currently exist, and we have not done that to date.
Okay.
But it is a very good idea to get funding to clean those up and make them into. Long Beach has very nice restrooms on their High Dune Trail. It would be nice if we had something.
But we can't use LTAC to build new ones. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's true or not. I don't.
That would be a really good question for legal
Yeah.
as to whether or not we could use LTAC.
I think you could, because I believe it would meet the parameters. It's about putting, bringing tourists into Ocean Shores, putting heads in beds, and obviously having restroom facilities in a town like ours where things do not open necessarily at 6 o'clock in the morning every day and do not stay open until 12 o'clock at night. Public restrooms are an amenity that we need more than other cities.
And as we've already discussed in this forum, the majority of businesses visited to this point, like 15 out of 16,
Are not happy with.
are not allowing
Yeah.
customers to use their restrooms
Mhm.
for, there's a variety of reasons why, but,
Right.
okay.
Please tell me what LTAC is.
That's lodging tax
Advisory committee.
that
Thank you.
collects taxes in
So
hotel
it's-
rooms.
So there is nothing designated in that pot of money.
It's a pool of money that becomes available through a taxation mechanism, then people can then apply for, and the city and nonprofits can apply for those funds.
Once you told me what it was,
You know what it was, okay,
I knew where I was going.
all right.
And I knew the question that needed to be asked. My question then to the city is, because the TOT money, it's what I know it as, TOT, transient occupancy
Okay,
tax, comes into the city funds
yeah,
and then can be designated according to the city.
Correct.
the city would apply for it. There's a committee, an LTAC committee, so we would apply for it just like anyone else.
Right.
And the committee would have to approve.
Yeah.
And then we'll give a recommendation to council and then council.
The problem is new bathrooms are extremely expensive and it would eat up a very large chunk of that LTAC revenue, some of which has to go to the convention center for its operations and its repairs. And then, of course, we do want to make sure that we're promoting events as well. So it's about how much money is in the pot and what does it cost. I don't think we could do it with LTAC money alone, go something new. We could refurbish the ones that are existing quite possibly. with LTAC money.
But it would be helpful to know from legal if we could use LTAC money
Or
for
new.
new.
Okay.
Because if so, it checks that box. It can be a consideration. If not, then you move on with the next solution.
So I'm a Southern California girl and language is different up here sometimes.
Nope, that's not a problem.
So I have to ask dumb questions.
No, and I will let you know, we have the problem we have had with putting them in restrooms, even like our porta potties that we put out by the skate park, which is, like we're talking about behind Bennett's. I think it's been blown up 3 times now. And so we do have cameras out there now to catch that. I mean, that is something we can, you can prosecute after the fact and that's nice, but it has to be something somewhat similar to the structure we have out on Chancellor Lemare, the beach approach. It's gonna be something that's very fortified and solid.
Yeah, because they're a target. You're right.
They are an absolute target and we keep losing them. And it's expensive to replace them. And we've had vandalism at North Bay, the same thing.
Mhm.
And cameras is a nice thing because we can catch the person after the fact, but often the damage is done. I mean, it can be prevented if you put them in a way that people see that they're there, but kind of people who damage bathrooms, unfortunately, aren't always the most forward-thinking individuals.
Well said.
So if LTAC was allowed to be used, the application period is closed now. It may reopen again in the spring. Just so you know.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Planning Commission update. Randy, have you updated? What are you updating and have you completed?
I was updating the, I think I sent that to you, didn't I?
Well, if not, you can send it if I didn't get it. And you were updating,
Like 80 through one, that 80 through 110, say. And I found no changes.
Okay.
I've now updated 1 through 21. At this point, it's currently up to date. So I'll check with Thorne and I'll check with Steve, and then we can put this together and move forward on that. Okay, the next item is the hot topic of the day, the trapping in ocean shores. So any further comment on that wasn't raised?
I have a question. I have not seen your latest version.
I'll send it to you then.
I thought that the one that I received the other day was.
Okay.
From what you read, it's not even close.
Yeah, no, it's definitely updated from the original.
Attached to the agenda, yeah.
Yeah.
The old one, I believe is, yeah.
Nicole, do you have email access here? I can send it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, no, I was,
Okay.
the ask for rewrite was after,
Okay,
Yeah, because it's not.
yeah.
no, otherwise it would have been, yeah. Okay. Another item that we've been asked to look at is updating old Ocean Shores municipal codes. Every department head that I talk to says, yeah, we've got old stuff we need to update. But we're not getting any, well, how can I help you? I mean, I've talked to 4 department heads. How can I help you as a planning commission do that? Oh, I don't have anything for you. But you just said that we have old stuff that needs to be updated. Anyway, we've got a disconnect there. So I've been asked to look at those beginning with those last updated in the 1970s coming forward. And it'd be really nice, I think what Vita said is just do it all together. I asked Nicole if she had a way to do a sort on all the municipal codes that would highlight it without having to go through each one individually. Unfortunately, she was unable to sort it. So that's what I have started to do, is go through each code individually to see, you know, what's, and just compiling 70s, 80s, 90s. Yes.
So if you go in and go to ordinances particularly, it lists those 5 dates, the oldest to newest. The one was the one first ordinance done, so.
But it won't let you know if it's been replaced.
Well, correct, but once you get to the code though that it references, it will give you the
True.
last ordinance that was on there. Do you understand?
I think I do.
Yeah, so if you put, let's say you pull up ordinance number 3 and you go to the code that references. When you're in that code itself, the very last ordinance that pertained or was amended to that will be there. So you can see if it was updated or not.
Yeah, that'll be a lot quicker.
But yeah, just start with ordinances and you can go on
Do
that.
they
way.
have something specific that they're asking?
No.
Or do they just want,
Yeah.
it was a
so-
general,
Yeah, so, yes, Vita, go ahead, please.
No, I didn't want to interrupt, please.
Okay, so everybody talks about, we've got old ordinances, but nobody will give me any specifics. We identified the public safety officer, one where we're doing trapping, doesn't reference who it really is, the chief of police. So we've got that in front of, it's in the queue to go.
Chief of police or designee.
Exactly.
A definition, like that's just not.
Yeah, so we're trying to add that to the definition of 8.20. So we're in the process of doing that one that we identified that came up with our trapping research. But I keep hearing from people, we have old ordinances, but then nobody will give me any specifics to work on. So I've been asked by the mayor to just look at updating everything from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s. As Scott is nodding, that's what we'd like to do. So anyway.
I note on that too, even in that traffic ordinance, if you go through there, the verbiage is outdated in there where it references the state game department.
Yeah, I think that last one was updated in 76. If my research was correct on
And a
that.
lot of it's that, it references the city manager, it's the city administrator.
It might almost be easier to start with just general language changes rather than ordinance changes. Eliminating things, the agencies that no longer exist, positions and titles that are no longer relevant. Anything that's changed along that way, and just start with the simpler things of finding language that's no longer, and then going on to ordinances. And because that's always trickier to change, whereas language is very, very easy. We've moved from strong mayor to city manager multiple times in the city. We can never really decide what I think. I think we're locked into the system now pretty much, but exactly what she says, there's references to the game department, and agencies that no longer even exist. So, or not called what they used to be called, so.
I'm more than willing to help you with that, by the way.
Yep. That might change. It's not tough for us.
Yeah.
Yes, Vita, please.
Thank you for recognizing me. Well, folks, I guess if you want to blame anybody for this directive from the mayor, you can blame me because it was my idea. And,
Okay, let me make a note of that.
Pardon me?
Oh, let me make a note of that. Okay,
Yes.
duly noted.
so I have some suggestions, for Nicole and for you, Mark. So in Adobe Pro, there's a function called compare. And I've already done this. Nicole, you might recall that I compared two ordinances, which then produces another report where it shows all the changes. So what I would suggest that if, to start off with, you can get those original ordinances, or you can do it from copy and paste, and you can compare them as PDFs. You can do, I believe, only 2 at a time. It will produce a report. So what you could do is then do it successively, coming forward from the past into the current phase. And then you will get all the changes, including, and you can filter the changes too, whether you want to have font changes or just material, language, headers, images. Those all can be filtered out as far as whether that program will do that comparison. Secondly, I have experience in this area, and this is why I suggested it. So I'm available to help. And I suggest that it be done, and I've already talked to Marshall about this too, by the way, and we can talk off-site or in a different forum if you want to. But I've written municipal codes before. I'd be happy to help the city in that endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I might take you up on that. Okay. Any other comments?
Can I ask a question? Are you guys done with the trapping?
I was confused by that myself.
Oh,
Are we kind of, because we've now moved on to 6 from 5, so.
oh, yeah, yeah, I moved on because I asked if there was anything and I got crickets. Okay.
Yeah, she sent me her new thing, but I do have an owl to rescue in town here, so I can.
You wanna go rescue the owl? Go sit down.
If you guys don't need me for any more questions regarding the trapping one, I'll
Okay.
look at this. Like you say, I was seeing the old one, so I'm like, and then you're reading this like, yeah, I haven't seen that one. So, depending on my work schedule, I'll try and get back to you on it. Again, I start every Monday with a plan and I run out of hours. I donate a lot more time than I should. Yeah, I'll try and take a look at things here. And I think sounds like you're kind of we're on a better track now of how to direct those people.
Well, yeah, I think we've streamlined it a little bit and also hopefully listed things based on, what's fur bearing and what's not fur bearing to help. And then, is it perfect? No.
Well,
Is it progress? I hope so.
I think taking time and going over these slowly. I've worked on a lot of wax before. And they go back and forth, lots of discussion, fine tuning things. Trying to get it through in just a month is really hard, especially when you got, at least in my world. But I'm thinking the one thing to me that would help clarify is how do you define the damage? Do you want to just adopt state rules, or what is the city rules going to be on that?
Can I just interject really briefly? And I apologize again because I missed the first few minutes. Have we categorically said, because I think that's my view as well, that we're going to separate the trapping of domestic pets completely from anything we do with this trapping ordinance? Is that everyone on the same page with that?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think they're totally separate issues.
That should go in like the animals code versus this code.
Yes, I just want to make sure that but I missed this first part, so I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything when we discussed that. So if we're talking about an individual that's trying to retrieve lost pets, that to me is a completely separate ordinance from this. And that this could be tweaked and rewritten in such a way that it's clearer to the general public. And it could even be a step process if it's you know, a raccoon in your house and or rodents, you know, you call licensed pet operators to remove it. If it's something that's not along those lines, we call the Department of Washington Fish and Wildlife. However, if we want it written that way,
I think
just separately.
some of it needs some definitions in there, but you gotta kind of, you know, for me, you know, if you're just gonna adopt state rules and say that's what we're gonna do, and okay, well, that's pretty easy, but I kind of, and if that's what the city wants, so be it. But it's just realizing that that would bring, that allows the homeowners set traps and it.
No, and we don't, and I don't think we want that. We
Right.
don't want
So
that.
that's trying to navigate that and I, part of me what's is how to, the communication of this, that one, that if you do change it and people come in, that they understand this isn't about trapping bears, this isn't about trapping deer. This is just nuisance wildlife, which is kind of, you know, you think you got a pretty good definition there, but they're just, it's certain. There are a few fur bearers that fall into that. There are small game species that fall into that category. Then there's some unclassified wildlife. And that's where the WUCO comes in, because the WUCO is you can't really trap that one, you know, and it does kind of alleviate that, but still needed, where's that threshold of damage that, you know, because if you just adopted, say, the state rules, there's nothing that prevents that landowner, you know, I had a raccoon run across my lawn, he calls it WUCO. Maybe you get a WUCO that isn't the most ethical and says, okay, I'll set a trap.
Well, I have to admit, and I did at council, that, because how do you assess the property damage? I don't know.
Yeah,
Just, it's one of those, what's property damage to me and what's property damage to
Yeah.
another resident will be different, and someone's gonna have to assess it. The owner thinks there is some damage,
right.
hence they make the call.
And that's where the confusion, I think, comes in, or the challenges for me is I've got state rules, I don't enforce city rules, so to speak. But you know, if the city has these rules, this is, you know, structural damage or damage to a building. Things like that, you know, define that where this meets the city, you know, yeah, the city agrees that this animal should not be that versus the person that, you know, like I say, the raccoon is coming in and getting into their bird feeder and they want to trap it.
So, I mean, it's very, to me, even looking at this, writing this, it's a slippery slope, because how do you assess the property damage? And, who is gonna come out and make that assessment? I'm the homeowner, I think I've got damage, you know, if it's structural, then what I heard at council is, and my bride would tell me, call your homeowner's insurance, right? So where's that happy
Yeah.
medium when currently the words say none whatsoever?
Right.
And I'm trying to bridge that gap
Yeah, well, and
to provide something for a homeowner to do in a situation that they believe, and it's real to them, that they have damage.
okay, well, it's just for me, how do I define that based on what the city wants? I mean, I'm kind of working with state rules. The cities, you know,
What do state rules say in that regard?
state rules, it's pretty loose. So basically, you know, technically in the first, so let's say, we'll take example of the beaver chewing on the tree and the person isn't applying for a body gripping trap permit. So under state rules, yeah, a person can put their, maybe they get lucky, they have a heart trap out there and they catch that beaver chewing on the tree. State rule just says you have to euthanize it. There's nothing that stops that landowner. The next, supposedly, if it happens again, then they're supposed to get checked with us, get a permit, and then I'm required to go look at it, which could take quite a while. Does that happen much? No. Basically, the big companies and the counties follow those rules. Nobody else does. So, and is that what the city wants? You know, so.
City, the council asked several times, what dollar
Well,
level are we assigning
so
to damage?
why don't we try this? Maybe, what if the city comes back with its model ordinance for this section of it? And we come up back with our section, the model ordinance, at least, okay, maybe the discussion ordinance for the domestic pet traffic. That'll be just, this one would be something more toward final. And obviously, we could put the domestic pet traffic one on a discussion, because that's gonna require a number of parties that aren't at the table right now to discuss moving forward on that. And we bring that to the next planning commission and the ordinance itself. And then we move it from there and then try to move it forward to council. I think if it's coming from the city and the city has written the ordinance, it's probably a better likelihood that council would pass it.
100%.
So let's just, can we agree to that?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Public comment now.
Then it's with that, Scott, you can go rescue that owl.
Okay,
Unless
well,
you say it's public comment.
Christine found it, or she responded, they reached out, well.
Was that over down on,
It's at Sunset. So apparently it hit a window. I don't know, they called the volunteer called me, and it's like, well, I'm gonna be in Ocean Shores anyway,
all
so.
right, who saved one of our owls? We
Yeah.
love those animals.
Probably a barred owl, which is kind of ironic.
Pete, I'll have you hold off for a minute, please.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
wanted to say something before Scott left. So can you just hang one
Okay.
second?
I'm not leaving until the meeting's over, so.
I think you're wrong.
Not that Scott, the
Yeah.
other
Oh,
Scott.
Scott Harris.
Okay.
So damn it, so there's an RCW that specifically defines wildlife damage. So with respect to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, so Mark, you want to write down this RCW?
Sure.
77.36.010. That's called definitions, and in there are several topics that are defined, one of which is damage. And the problem that I see going on now is that the state law really addresses only commercial agricultural operations. According to that citation I just gave you, damage means, and I'm reading it verbatim, economic losses caused by wildlife damage. There's a whole RCW, there's several sections, the title of which is called wildlife damage. I suggest that you look into this. And so the basis of this is essentially geared towards agricultural commodities and production. So in other words, if you have crops or livestock or other types of commercial agricultural commodities that wildlife is damaging, then this applies. What we have before us here today is residential properties that are suffering quote unquote damage from wildlife, whether they're fur bearing or whatever. The correct response is to call your insurance company. And or if it does apply, if those animals that are affecting you fall into this code, then I would call Scott and his department to come out and handle it. So I don't see where the code today, unless you want to just exclude the activities of the Department of Fish and Wildlife to allow them to operate in the city of Ocean Shores, that's the only change I would make to the current code. But I just want to make sure that you understand that damage only refers to commercial operations, not private property. That's the distinction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
So she's correct in the RCW. That's my main purpose is actually agricultural damage and dangerous wildlife, but it's grown into this, the whole thing when they come up with this position. I'm trying to find it here. So damage when it comes to nuisance wildlife or a small, you know, certain fur bearers, small game and some unclassified wildlife and then a few other species. it's very loosely defined. It just says property damage. And so under state law, and it is something, and it's in whack. And sorry, I don't have it in front of me. And it's very loosely defined. And it kind of aggravates me. But at the same time, you know what, like say, if people are applying for a permit, and like say, somebody applies for a permit to use a conibear to get a beaver that's chewing on a tree by their dock, they're gonna get pushback on that permit, and probably not, depending on who's processing it. So that's, and I'd like to say, I'd have to find it, but it is, in this context, outside of the agricultural thing, it is just really loosely defined at the state level. And I think that's where, you know, for me, fine, if you want to follow the state rules, but I don't know if that's actually what Ocean Shores wants. And it's a huge challenge. What, you know, I mean, I can think of, you know, the potential scenarios that never happened out here, just where I've seen other places. Trapping is probably going to be the best short-term scenario because the fix is actually a long-term deal versus the evicting the animal and plugging the hole. So it is a challenge, and it just, for me, is where you want to define that, you know, and part of it, when I look at how that, you know, the more I've been just listening to stuff, the more it kind of clarified to me was that I think that original city code was written to prevent fur bearer trapping.
Correct.
And not really, and it kind of grew into this realm. And so maybe that's part of it. It is, you know, is outlining that.
I agree with your assessment, because when it says none whatsoever,
Right.
that is.
Yeah, and unknowingly at the time, you know, I mean, we've run into that with some wax and RCWs over the years. It's like, oh, yeah, technically we're not supposed to do that by our own rules. And, you know, so I think that's, again, it is, does it need to be cleaned up? Sure, everything does, like you say, that, you know, these old wax, you know, our old codes. For me, it's like, where is that line in there when you want us to say, or when that WUCO comes, you know, notifies the city that they're going to trap, you know, or do they even need a permit other, hey, I'm gonna trap this, you know, this beaver or a otter. What is that threshold that the city wants to see? You know, because one of the things, you know, from a diversity, I mean, I think to include in this is, I think the city wants its diversity of wildlife that it has. One trapper that isn't following the rules could wipe out your otter population pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, so there's got to be something there if the city wants to maintain that, you know, and Ocean Shores is so much different than all the other cities in Washington. I mean, it's not just the people, it's, you guys are, you know, you kind of took this swamp and dug canals and built Ocean Shores. It really has a unique history. And there is, every time I look at it, I start thinking about it, and it's like, oh, I can't apply, you know, I've been doing a lot of, you know, code research on some other topics, and it's like, some of it, you know, is related to garbage. It's like, well, you got to Ocean Shores this up a little bit, because what applies here isn't going to apply here. So, anyway, I guess that for me, you know, just to say that if we going down is trying to, where is that damage threshold?
Right, it's a tough one.
Yeah, and yeah, at this point, I'm kind of waiting for you know. I mean, I don't have a good suggestion. I'll have to think about it some more. But yeah, I'll try and it's trying to find it. But yeah, I had it here a little while ago. But yeah, private property damage is a different thing than agricultural damage. And even in the agricultural damage, you get into different
Well, I was gonna
species.
say, it could apparently, I would imagine.
Deer and elk are the big ones, but you know, I deal with, bear damage in corn. You'd be amazed at how much corn they can eat, and they love corn. Other species like crows and stuff, that's kind of a federally managed one, so don't, but, yeah, when I say get in the agricultural one, there's a whole lot of crazy rules there too. And some of them are, they've updated the codes, but some of them are just really need some updating. Anyways, is that it?
Yeah, well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Appreciate you taking the time, and
No
hopefully
problem.
you, take care of that owl.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of hoping he ran into a window, so he might have just rung his bell and.
Yeah, hopefully that's it.
Yeah, but if not, then we gotta rehab it, not far away to take it.
Thank you. The next thing on the
That was
agenda.
WAC 220. WAC 220.
WAC 220.
You
Okay.
gotta cut her.
Okay. Next thing on is community development liaison report, and Marshall is asked to be excused today. So planning commission members report. Anything, Randy, anything to report? Judy, anything to report?
No, I just have a suggestion.
Okay,
Is that where I put suggestions forward?
you can, sure.
But we have lots of community input.
Mhm.
Why not outreach to everybody who wants to do community input and get some little committees going that can then feed back into the planning commission? And then we can move forward.
Well, that's certainly an option. We do have, as chair, I can come up with subcommittees on topics.
That was
So,
just gonna be my question,
Yeah.
is do we have the ability to have citizen
we do. Yes.
committees?
And our subcommittees don't have to just be members of the planning commission. I can reach out to people, like Vita, who says she'd be willing to join the ordinance.
Well, and this
group
lady
or
was
whatever.
here
Right,
too.
right. So yes, we do, to answer your question. We do have that capability. And we have done, well, similar to that in the past.
It might make things cloudier, but it might make things clearer also.
Duly noted. Dennis, anything? Thorne, anything?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll meet with the mayor tomorrow unless there's a 10 o'clock, that may make our 10:30 cancel.
Take a look at our,
Yeah,
As the auditor's entrance conference tomorrow.
and I'm at 10:30, so
Yeah, that goes until 11, but it never really runs that long.
Yeah, I don't know how long it really will.
If you have a meeting with the mayor, I would suggest just coming in at 11 o'clock then.
okay,
At 11.
all right. I will change that to 11 then. Okay, public communication, anything else? Yes, Ian.
Well, in the early days when the planning commission operated, they operated by their rules and by their handbook. Now, I know you've changed it, I haven't read it recently, but in the old days, only the people on the planning commission could speak, except for public comment. And the way you allowed somebody to speak, not within the conversation that was being made for the purpose of the planning commission, you had to suspend the rules. And you all voted to suspend the rules to allow somebody like Vita to speak, or anybody else to speak. Because now you've got people speaking for on and on and on and not getting to the point. So I think you need to follow the rules.
Duly noted, and Robert's Rules of Orders is exactly what you said. When it was rewritten in 2022, however, the handbook said, unless, the chair deviates.
Okay.
So I have been very open that I don't mind letting people speak probably to a fault. So I'm guilty of that.
Well, I notice a lot of people are going on and on, repeating something over and over again and not getting to the point. They're not speaking for 3 minutes like council had.
True.
That makes people get to the point.
That's true.
And then you go on and on, you go over your meeting.
Again, I'm guilty. And
No, I
you're
just-
exactly right.
I
No,
just public comments.
yeah, yeah. And you're right, though. Yeah. But I really, and I get the look, but I really try to be as transparent as possible.
Okay.
And that does cause me to deviate. Yeah,
Well, I just wanted to point it out that your meeting could be more efficient.
yes, it could. And I am guilty of that. Thank you for, no, it's good feedback.
You don't have to be guilty.
No, I am. Trust me, I am wonderful. Anybody else? Yeah,
I need to know about the tower, the tsunami tower that's going to be built.
We don't have anything to do with that.
No,
Not a
I-
city project.
yeah, no, I cannot help you on that one. Yeah. Anything else? Stephen?
Yeah,
Oh,
I just wanted to clarify. So the trapping ordinance, you're stripping it down to just for bearing animals, taking out the bear and the deer. You're gonna take out the pets, right?
It never had bear and deer to
it
begin
never
with.
had very.
It always said for bear.
So what is the rules regarding bear and deer then?
There aren't any. There aren't any in the ordinance at all.
So it goes by state rules.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when Scott came in originally, I mean, months and months ago, I think June-ish, right? He said we had a choice. We could go by state rules. And then he kind of explained similar to what he said today, which we here in the city said, no, we don't want to go that far. Because we don't want citizens being able to trap. We want licensed people to be able to trap. That's what we're working towards. But it's been a road. But yeah, never, no beer, no beer, no deer, and no bear.
No beer.
Maybe I need one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, those aren't part of the ordinance. Sure. Okay. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, 2 p.m. in the Ocean Shores Library Meeting Room. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn at 3:07.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? 307.